Oh, we got some people in the chat. Okukui. What's going on, Okukui? We got Joseph. So I'll do like a little introduction. This is my buddy Rohan from Mind for Combat, guys. Awesome mixed martial arts channel. Super knowledgeable. Top guy. I got him on a podcast. I'm super excited. So
thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it, brother. I've been looking forward to getting on and catching up with you for a long time now. So it's great to finally be here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But Rohan, going back to Keenan, yeah, he's a cool dude, man. He's very helpful. He hops on here, he chats with me every now and then and stuff. I like him a lot. He's cool.
Yeah, Keenan's brilliant, man. He's always really friendly. He's been down to help me from the beginning of my channel, and I've jumped on a couple of live podcasts with him. He's got a great channel. He's got a real knack for editing, that kid as well, and he's going to do some great things in this sphere.
Oh, absolutely, man. He's an editing wizard. His videos are awesome. But
you're pretty good at that stuff yourself, man. I'm the one who had to recruit and help to start getting my videos edited, man. But
oh, thanks, Rohan. Hey, man, but you know what, dude? You're such a great speaker. You're super knowledgeable. So that's why you have the following you have.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. This is my passion. This is my love, man. This is what keeps me sane whilst working on Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and being a cog in the wheel. This is what makes me feel a little bit different from everyone. So I love this game.
Yeah, I hear you, Rohan. I hear you. So we got some more people in the chat. We got Hawkeye in here. I'm not sure. Can you see the chat boxes, Rohan? The messages or no?
Yeah. I can see everyone. El Kui, Joseph Kelly, Hawkeye. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, oh, these are all great guys. Awesome guys in a group. But yeah, for you guys listening and watching, feel free to ask questions. We're just gonna like riff here and talk about some events and fights coming up. But anything on your mind, Rohan, in particular to start?
Yeah. So tomorrow's a big night for Bellator. Bellator's putting on one of the best cards that I've seen them put on in a long time. So I suppose one of the best places we can start off with Bellator tomorrow is their prelim card, and they got Aaron Pico, a young kid that I think a lot of on that card, and he's had a bit of a tough ride in MMA, and I think he's been built up in absolutely the incorrect, worst way you can build up a prospect, which is putting him in the wrong weight class to start off his career. Had him on the Madison Square Garden card against a guy who had 10 fights and was 10 years his senior, still in his prime though. And ever since then, it's just been a progression of difficult opponents. The dude was 3-1 and fighting Leonardo Higo, who's a former two-time Bellator world title challenger, and he found himself on a 2-fight losing streak, 2 brutal knockouts. Do you think that despite the brutal knockouts that he's taken, considering his young age and questionable chin, do you think that there's still room for him to go on and achieve greatness in the realm of mixed martial arts? I'll be very interested to know your thoughts on that.
I'm trying to bring up, like, it's a Bellator 238, right?
That's right, yep. So, and he's going to be fighting a kid named Daniel Carey. Daniel Carey's I would call him a mid-level journeyman fighter. No disrespect to him. There's a great place for fighters like that, and Aaron Pico can't get past him. This is probably the first fight he's had in his career which is on par with what he should be fighting at. I have a feeling that he's going to stomp this dude. And then what the question is, okay, he wins that fight. Does Bellator then jump the gun and throw him in there with a top contender again, which is just ridiculous? I feel like for Bellator to truly become a competitor to the UFC, they need some homegrown talent that has true superstar potential, and I feel like they've missed out on Aaron Pico's abilities or being able to promote Aaron Pico correctly had they built him up correctly, which is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. One of the worst things that they do in boxing is build up a fighter to like 25-0. You don't need to get a fighter to 25-0, but what he does need, he needs an opportunity and room to grow. As martial artists, we know that confidence is half of the game. Most fighters are momentum fighters, which is why you see guys win 7 in a row, then lose 3 in a row, win 7 in a row, lose 2 in a row. He's had no opportunity to get real momentum going and build up in the correct way. He's so young, so I would just love to know your thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. But the hype of Aaron Pico, apparently, like, he's done like amazing things in training. I mean, there was just like a lot of hype attached to him coming into Bellator, right?
Yeah,
like a ton of hype. Yeah, like a ton of hype. Yeah, I mean, how old is he again, Rohan?
Aaron Pico now should be no older than 22, 23 years old. If I remember correctly, I'm fairly certain he's 23.
Yeah, so he's still, I mean, he's super young because you got guys competing in MMA like damn near 40 years old. You know, some people go past 40 depending how their
Yeah.
career plays out. But yeah, I mean, he's young enough to like recover. Tomorrow's fight is going to tell us some things. Like, I mean, if he gets stopped again, like brutally, I don't know, man. I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, if he gets KO'd and stopped tomorrow, I'm trying to look up his record and see how many knockouts he has in a row. Okay, so he has 2 back-to-back stoppage losses. So if he gets stopped again 3 times in a row and he's only 22 years old, oh man. But let me ask you something. Do you kind of like almost blame his team as well? Like besides like Bellator brass, like because it's like
absolutely,
it's his team accepting these fights too, you know.
Yeah, it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50 deal here. Aaron Pico, no blame can be put on him. As a young fighter, you believe you can smash everyone on earth. So when a fight comes to you, you're going to take it. But that's the responsibility comes to his team to say, yeah, you can take this fight, but just not right now. You need to be built up. I understand the point that he was making, that he had a lot of hype coming into it. But I think a good way to look at this is amateur boxer Anthony Joshua, for example, who was coming into, when he made his debut, he already had an Olympic gold medal, had tons of hype. He was already the star of British boxing. He still got the opportunity to build up and fight the correct level of competition before he got put in a world championship fight against the best fighters in the world, which was the correct way to do it. So I agree with you. I think another knockout loss here, we may be saying goodbye to Aaron Pico or certainly his potential for the future. And that kind of bugs me out, man, because as a fan of the sport, I root for the kid. I really wanted to see him make it and go far and achieve things in the game. But that's a tough one tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a case of them believing in him so much that they just like, bring the fight on, give us that guy, and then, you know, like I don't want to say like denial because that's like a disrespectful thing to say, but I don't know, like when your fighter gets stopped, you know, 2 times in a row and it has so much hype behind them, super talented, you do got to kind of take a step back and say, all right, we need somebody a little lesser competition, or maybe we don't really belong in Bellator right now. And I know that's like a big step backwards, but actually like long term, it's better for your fighter, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes you got to step back and reassess so you can rebuild. That's not if fighters would just keep going forward. It's like just to go back to boxing real quick. If Dylan White went after getting knocked out by Anthony Joshua, went straight back to fighting the Wolves, he would have got knocked out again. But now he's rebuilt and he's in a place where he can really make a mark. Fighters need an opportunity to rebuild, man. That little bit of experience does the world of good. Look at Robbie Lawler when he first come to the UFC, washed out, went 1-3, got knocked out by Nick Diaz, who's the man, by the way. Got knocked out by Nick Diaz, went away, rebuilt, and he came back and won world titles. Sometimes fighters need time, experience, and the opportunity to grow. And it's vital for fighters to have success, to have the chance to grow.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm going to read a couple of comments in a sec, but the mind, Rohan, as you know, is so crucial and important, like in combat sports. I didn't understand it before, but, you know, I've come to the understanding, like in training myself and stuff like that. It's like, if you're not confident, it is, I mean, I've heard Boss Rutan say like, it's like 90% of the fight. Like your mental, you know, and when you got a guy that's getting stopped and stuff, yeah, I mean, they may physically have all the tools to win a fight, but if they're not confident in their chin, and it's like the law of attraction, like you kind of like create the scenario from what goes on in your mind. You know, you go into a fight and you're like, if I get knocked out again, that could be the end of my career. I better not get knocked out. I better get knocked out. Like paranoid about it. It's like you get knocked out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's a very good point. It's one of the key things that happens in the fight game as well. When you're constantly in a negative mind frame, that's why when a lot of people they get so offended when these current fighters will say, "Yeah, I could beat this former great." You're meant to think that. Fighters are meant to think that. If you don't think like that, you shouldn't be fighting, man. These people get so so defensive about their favorite fighters just because a current world champion saying he could have beat them. Oh well, man, that's what he should be thinking.
Yeah. It's funny when I see that. Also, it cracks me up. Like, what are they supposed to say? Like, this guy's gonna whoop my ass. I don't belong in a cage with him. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
you know, like,
if I was fighting in the time of GSP, I would have been a bum. What do you expect the dude to say? But fight fans, they're an aggressive bunch, man. It's one of the things that I've enjoyed about your channel was the comments that I see underneath your videos. Largely, I would say a good 99% of it is from educated fight fans, which is one of the things I'm grateful about as well. Is that it's that positive vibe that I have on my channel as well. Educated, great fight fans that are just willing to understand, and it's cool to disagree. But there's so much negativity in the fight game as well, and I really don't know where that comes from, man.
I don't get it, Rohan. I don't get it. Like, sometimes I goof on some of the comments, like on this channel, but like you said, like 95, 90, 90% of the comments, like, great, respectful, educated. You could agree to disagree. Every now and then you get like some kind of weirdo that's like hating for no reason, like weird comments, like ragging on, like, just stupid crap, like, just, I don't know. Anyway, some of the most fickle, the bad fans are some of the worst fans, like, in all of sports for mixed martial arts. But when they're great, they're great.
It's true. Such a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right. So some of the comments here. Let me see. Okukui, Aaron Pico has a lot of talent, great hands, but he tends to be very aggressive, like Cody, and gets caught a lot. I did see that in one of his fights. One of his Bellator fights, he got a little overconfident and aggressive, and he got caught. I think it was his first fight.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and that's something that will come with time. That's more to the point that we were talking about. If he had the experience of knowing when to be aggressive and when not in a fight situation, he might not have caught some of them losses.
Okukui says he's heard stories that Pico has actually beat Cotto in boxing and sparring.
Ooh.
That's impressive.
I don't know how true that is. If that's true, that's incredible. Beating Miguel Cotto in a sparring match is. Miguel Cotto is one of my favorite boxers of all time. He's one of the greatest boxers to ever do it in middleweight and welterweight. He's brilliant. Yeah, so if that's true, wow, that's incredible.
He's a badass. Speaking of boxing, I just listened to Tyson Fury's his audiobook, Behind the Mask. I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. But we got Fury and Wilder coming up. That's crazy.
Can't wait.
Rohan, who do you got in that one?
So this is a very, very interesting fight. The fight coming up with Wilder and Fury. So originally I had picked in the first fight I picked Fury to win. I thought Fury was going to outbox him. He's going to be much more technical than him. He's just going to be better. Dance around him and he'll outbox him. But I thought Wilder could knock him out. And Wilder's a dangerous fight. And it turns out I was correct both ways. Coming into this fight, it's essentially the same fight, but I've just got some issues surrounding Fury that makes me feel like Wilder has a slight edge coming into this fight. For example, the last 6 months for Fury, I've seen him fight Otto Wallin, leave the fight badly injured with scar tissue in his face intact. He split from his trainer who helped him drop 10 to 11 stone, helped him deal with mental health issues, whatever it is. We've seen him do WWE. We've seen him release a Christmas track with Robbie Williams. We've seen him being on talk shows and living the celebrity lifestyle and all the rest of it. And we're seeing him go from 17 stone or 18 and a bit back up to 19, and he's saying that's a part of the game plan. I'm not liking what I'm seeing with Fury, man. I'm seeing stuff that's cause for concern. We're seeing a dude almost going backwards here, and I really like Fury. I would love to see Fury get the win here. I'm a huge Wilder fan as well, so from a fan's perspective, I suppose it's a bit inconsequential who wins for me because I really like them both. But just as an analyst, when I'm looking at the fight, Fury's the better technical boxer and he will outbox him. If both their hands were made of pillow, Fury would win 10 times out of 10. But with the mentality change for Fury, it's troubling for me because one thing's guaranteed: in 36 minutes with Wilder, Fury will find himself on his arse at least once in that fight. If his mentality ain't there where he was previously and he can get himself off that ground, then I'm concerned that he's going to stay on that ground. So it's so difficult for me, man. This is such a 50-50 fight just because the intangibles to me, well, as you know, having trained martial arts yourself, the intangibles of a fighter are almost just as important as the things that you can categorically see. So this is a hard fight. I lean towards Fury, but I do question Fury's commitment coming into this.
No, I agree with you, man. And it's funny because in his audiobook, you know, he had bouts of like depression and stuff like that. He's very open with it. And in his own audiobook, he says how much stability, routine, and patterns have helped him. So it's like you touched on, he's deviating from, you know, what he's known and patterns, getting new trainers and this and that, and, you know, all over the place doing wrestling and, you know, hopping in the studio, like making tracks with Robbie Williams or whatever. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
It's a little concerning, like you said. Some of the comments, Steeler says Wilder's overrated. Let me see. Hawkeye says Wilder by TKO. Wilder fought bums. That's another comment. I mean, I'm excited for the fight. I pretty much have the same stance as you. It's pretty much 50-50. I think I kind of lean a little bit towards Wilder. Only because he said something, and I agree with what he said. He said, you know, Fury has to basically fight the perfect fight. He's like, all I got to do is connect once. And I think there's some truth to that, you know. Can Fury get up off the mat again? He got up like the Undertaker. I mean, that was like ridiculous. What was your reaction when he got dropped?
If the referee went there, looked at him, laid flat on his back with his eyes rolled in the back of his head, and just didn't bother counting and waved the fight off, I would have said, you know what, that's all right to me, you know. That I would have accepted. I would have completely accepted that, especially after everything that he had been taking. I've never seen, for all the controversy of whether he made a 10 count or not, I like to believe he did. But whatever the case is, I think I've never seen someone get up from a knockdown like that. No one on earth has ever hit as hard as Wilder. And for Fury to be able to get up after that, it really shows what Fury's made of. I was lost for words, man.
Yeah, I was watching a fight with my girlfriend, and you know, it just came out of nowhere. He got dropped. My girlfriend hops up. She says, "Holy shit!" And then like I get up and I'm like, "What the hell just happened?" And he looked dead. Like he looked dead. I don't know how he got up. It was freaking incredible. As far as the controversy with the whole 10 count, I think he beat it. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think that's just kind of nitpicking, you know. But okay, what we got for comments here? Okukui says, "I think Wilder will knock out Tyson Fury. I don't think Fury could do that for 12 rounds again." Yeah, it's going to be a tall task for him, definitely.
I was just reading through your comments. Someone called Jarek T. Kiwi Owls said cruiserweights do very well against Fury. That's an excellent point. Cruiserweights have historically done very well against Fury. Nevin Pikic, Steve Cunningham, both dropped him, both cruiserweights. And great point there. And Wilder's more a cruiserweight than a heavyweight, in my opinion.
Yeah. What do we got here? Well, I already read that Wilder's overrated. Well, you know what? That's funny. That's an opinion by a lot of people that Wilder fought a lot of subpar boxers.
Yeah, well, he certainly did in the early part of his career. I think the problem with Wilder was he wasn't marketable because he had wild swingy arms. Yes, he's good looking. Yes, he's got the talk and he dresses flamboyantly. All the rest of that jazz. But where he just swings his arm wildly, and even more so early in his career, no one got behind him. Promoters didn't really get behind him, and because promoters weren't getting behind him, the way boxing works is, so boxing's a very dirty game. Promoters will have their set list of fighters that they will match up other fighters with, and you're not going to get yourself a certain fight unless your name's out there a little bit, or unless something can be made out of it. So Wilder had to take work where he could take work, and he had to do it the hard way, and that was just keep destroying or sparking everyone out until he got the opportunity to fight the decent fighters. And it's unfortunate for Wilder, but there's some truth in it that he did fight a lot of bums. But I tell you what, man, I could point to some guys on Wilder's records that I think are exceptional fighters. Like if we just go with Luis Ortiz, a guy that's been he's A, criminally underrated, and B, criminally being avoided by all the top heavyweights. He's knocked him out twice. That to me says more than I need to know about Wilder's abilities in the ring, and just the way that both those fights played out as well, and the fact that he's been in there with Fury, who in my opinion is the best technical heavyweight there is right now. I think Wilder, yes, he's fought a lot of subpar competition, but I wouldn't say he's overrated. I would say, if anything, he's hugely disrespected for his abilities just because of unorthodox style. But what no one does point out for Wilder is the stuff that he does really well. I.e., feet placement is always good. He's a good athlete and he can cut distance incredibly fast. He has really good snap in his jab. He's fast. He's got fast hands, he's got a cast iron chin, he's got good conditioning. These are all key attributes of Deontay Wilder no one ever talks about, because with Wilder he's a bit of a divisive figure, isn't he? Like, you either love him or hate him. I kind of fall the love him spectrum of things, but that's just because I love the dude for who he is. He started boxing to secure his daughter who has a health condition. He seems like a great guy. You never see no bullshit coming out with him. And this is just my personal opinion, really nitpicky, but I like the fact that you never see no drama coming out about him, and he just seems like an honest, good family man who likes to spark people out in his day job. I like Wilder.
Yeah, no, I like him too. He grew on me after listening to him on the Joe Rogan podcast. He came off really well, really humble, down to earth and stuff. And I heard the whole story about his daughter. And I'm a fan. I like him. And as far as like the criticism with his boxing skill, I mean, I don't know what he's skilled. He's skilled. Like, the thing with him is, I think like he has a specific style, and like, no, he's not the type to dance around and bob and weave like a Tyson Fury and use perfect technique. No, like, it's kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how he fights. He throws a lot of power shots. His knockout ratio is ridiculous. I mean, let me look him up right now. What does he have, like 41 knockouts or something like that?
Yeah, so he's 42-0 with 41 knockouts. The two people that haven't that he never knocked out was, firstly, Bermane Stiverne in the fight where he won the WBC world title, but then he sparked him out brutally in a viral knockout in their rematch. And then Tyson Fury survived, but Tyson Fury got put on his ass twice and arguably flatlined in the second knockdown. So every single human being that has stepped in the ring with Wilder has had their consciousness taken away from them.
That's a funny way to say it. I seen like those videos out there. Somebody they made him like Wilder, like with the Thanos glove, and your soul comes out your body. I find it hilarious.
yeah. That's probably correct right there.
Yeah. Hey, so let's take a quick step back into the MMA realm. So we got JDS versus Curtis Blaydes. What do you think, Rohan?
So that's a very, very interesting fight. So when I look at that fight and I just step back and I look at it and I just look at it for skill sets, JDS is the better striker. He's better on the feet. He's more experienced. He's more well-rounded. He hits harder and he can definitely spark him out. And he's been there. He's been through it all. He's been through the grind. The problem is that the fight world is not black and white like that. And what we're also looking at is a dude who's 35 years old, who's been knocked out by Francis Ngannou recently, who's best years are probably behind him. He's been through more wars than any fighter should go through. Those last two fights with Cain Velasquez definitely changed JDS. And then you had that war with Stipe Miocic as well. Those change a fighter. And because of those things that have happened, and because Curtis Blaydes has this skill set where he's a really durable, conditioned wrestler who's just going to put you against the cage and grind you out, that makes me feel like, you know what? I think Curtis Blaydes is just going to grind him out for the decision, and that's just how I see it going. That's my pick. I really hope I'm wrong there, but the objective analyst in me can't pick against Curtis Blaydes in this. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Curtis Blaydes, Curtis Blaydes is 28. He's definitely like way fresher. Even like his style. History has showed that like grapplers usually take like way less damage. I think we all pretty much know that by now if you follow the sport for any length amount of time. So he's definitely fresher. I mean, no disrespect to JDS. You could look at him and you can see that he's been through some battles. I mean, he's got a lot of scarring on his face, and that's a striker. You know what I mean? They take a lot of damage. I don't know. I don't know. Right now, Curtis Blaydes, he's on a 2-fight win streak. Let me see. He has 9 knockouts on his record. I imagine most of those are like TKOs, like on the
Yeah.
ground, I would think.
TKOs. I don't think he's ever had a clean KO. I think they're ground and pound TKOs.
Yeah.
The most savage one I saw was probably the Alistair Overeem one, but he's not a knockout artist, really. He may take JDS down and elbow him to oblivion, which could be a possibility.
I tell you, man, the elbows that he killed Overeem with were ridiculous. Like that one first elbow that just stunned him. Or I gotta rewatch it, but I think was it one that put him flat out?
Yeah.
It was. I remember it was like this nasty elbow, just like caved his face and took him out. It's ridiculous. The power he generates from the top position is ground and pound. But I mean, could he get JDS to the ground? I mean, that's another thing because I think JDS has some pretty solid takedown defense. He got strong legs. He got a good base. He got pretty good
Once
footwork.
upon a time, no one would take him down, right?
Yeah, he definitely was a problem. And then the thing is also, getting across that danger zone with JDS, Blaydes has to get close enough to get a hold of him and get him against the cage and stuff. And I've always loved Junior's uppercuts. I always felt like he has one of the best uppercuts in the game in mixed martial arts. I mean, what do you think? Have you noticed that nasty uppercut?
Oh, yeah. That lead uppercut that made Fabricio Werdum's ears wiggle. Yeah. No, I love the lead uppercut. I think it's a great tool underutilized in the game. He throws it like a shovel uppercut. He doesn't throw it like a standard uppercut. So I think the way JDS throws it makes it even more devastating. I enjoy watching JDS throw that. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of watching that technique as well. I think his best punch is his overhand right, though, funnily enough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. It's like a little reminiscent of Chuck's overhand. Remember Liddell had that nasty overhand?
Liddell had a nasty one.
Oh, my God. But yeah, JDS, I mean, his last fight, he lost against Ngannou. I mean, Ngannou's a beast, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, is there really any shame in, losing to Francis in that manner?
No. And I was picking him to beat Francis because I thought he was much more well-rounded. I just think the stylistic matchup of Blaydes versus JDS works well for Blaydes.
Yeah. I did a breakdown for it. I mean, I wasn't too confident in my pick. I think I picked JDS. But it was like close, So his last fight, he lost against Ngannou. Then he was on a 3-fight win streak prior to that, though. He beat Derek Lewis. I actually thought Derek Lewis was going to knock him out. And he surprised me. Yeah, man. I thought Lewis was going to take him out. And JDS TKO'd him. I mean, that was pretty impressive.
I thought that was a great performance by JDS. Actually, I picked JDS to win that. I felt like, no disrespect to Derek Lewis, I'm a huge fan of his. I just feel like he's very unpolished and rough around the edges, and at the highest level, when you're against a guy like JDS who's a polished striker, you're just gonna struggle, man.
Yeah, I mean, but there were some exchanges in that fight that were kind of hairy for him. Lewis throws the heat, man. It's like no holding back, just throwing bombs, and JDS just barely got out of the way a couple of those. But yeah, I'm excited for the fight. What do you think about? I don't know how much more time you have, Rohan, but what do you think about Cris Cyborg's fight against?
So that's a very important fight. Her fight with Julia Budd. That's very, very important for Cris Cyborg at this stage. So I think after the Amanda Nunes fight, Cris Cyborg's position as the 145-pound queen was obviously taken away from her. But it's funny how she's been relegated to almost insignificance at 145. And it's kind of difficult to me for me to watch that, because we're looking at a woman who's won a world championship in 3 major organizations in mixed martial arts. No male equivalent has ever done that. She was the lineal champion at 145, dating back to essentially 2008 when she took out Gina Carano. And we're talking about a woman who's had the Invicta UFC and Strikeforce belt. She won the UFC belt, lost to Amanda Nunes, who, by the way, hasn't come up to 145 since, hasn't defended that belt in 13 months. Now she takes on Julia Budd, who's a defending world champion, got 2-3 defenses of that belt, is a true featherweight. This is a very, very important legacy fight for Cris Cyborg. It's a very big fight, in my opinion. I think Julia Budd's an animal, really underrated, got great striking, really big and strong, got great grappling.
She's huge.
Oh, she's dangerous, man. She's dangerous. So I think you can't underrate what her abilities in this. And I think this is a very, very even fight. I lean on Cris Cyborg as the more well-rounded fighter. I think Cris Cyborg wins this and makes history. It's a shame that we never got to see her rematch Amanda Nunes. That whole her relationship with Dana White was just completely it's disgusting. No one should have to work in that sort of environment, regardless of your job. So I'm happy for her that she's working under Scott Parker again, and I'm looking forward to this fight.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I agree with you. It's a super important fight for Cris Cyborg for sure. Who knows? Maybe later on down the road, by some miracle, we will see Nunes and Cyborg fight again. I feel like Cyborg could win that fight. You know what I mean?
I think so too.
Like, you got a lot of people out there that like don't give her any chance, and I just think the first fight was a tactical error. I just feel like and I want to hear your thoughts on this too. I feel like she thought she was gonna just run her over. Like, she just waded in, going blow for blow, and I think she kind of underestimated Amanda, and she paid for it.
Yeah, I couldn't say no better than that, really. I feel like she came in not understanding what Amanda's going to be bringing to the table. And in that fight, it's like one of those old gunslinging contests. The first person to connect was going to win. Amanda managed to connect one single bang that changed the whole complexion of the fight. Cyborg wasn't able to recover. And she fought a shocking fight. Clarissa Shields after the fight said Cyborg knows how to box. I don't know what the hell she was doing. That was a real bad night. But I mean, Cyborg's been at the top of the game for so long. I suppose everyone's entitled to have one bad night. Tomorrow's going to be really important to see if that was just one bad night or if it's the beginning of a trend for Cris Cyborg.
Now, do you think Cyborg's a little bit worn? Is she getting worn, you think?
Yeah, I think so. She's certainly slowed down. She's not the Cris Cyborg I thought. Yeah. The Felicia Spencer fight, I think that's a good indication of the fact that she is declining a bit. I'm not saying she's washed up over the hill. I'm just saying that she's starting to slow down. Maybe she's walking away from her prime now, and she's at a stage in a fight where she can't rely on pure ability now. Now she needs to know or utilize everything that she's gained over a 15-year career in mixed martial arts, having won multiple world titles. Exactly, yeah. The experience, the skill, the technique, everything that she's got, that we know she's got, that's what we need to see her utilizing to stand out now, because otherwise this is just not going to work, is it?
Yeah. You know what? To Felicia Spencer's credit, though, that chick is tough. I was watching that fight like, holy shit, the shots she was just eating, she's really tough. She's going to have a good career in the UFC herself if she keeps improving.
Oh, absolutely. But the problem for her is weight class. Who does she fight at 145?
Yeah, that's true.
There is no, who's her and Megan Anderson. That's it.
Yeah.
The champion doesn't fight at 145. So what are they going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a mess. I know you probably have to get off soon, Rohan, but going back to Cris real quick, the whole departure from the UFC, that was unfortunate. I feel like, the whole situation where they had like, I don't even know how to word it. It was like a video where they basically edited it in a certain way to make it look like Dana said something. It was like captioned in a way, but she didn't sit down in front of Adobe and her laptop and do it. It was her team. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately she's responsible, but it was just very unfortunate how that played out. Yeah.
I completely agree. It's a shame the way that happened. But I tell you what, it's not a shame for mixed martial arts, brother, because I've always been an advocate that for MMA to flourish, forget UFC, for MMA to flourish, there needs to be high-level fighters in various promotions all around the world to give people a reason to tune in to events like Bellator's event tomorrow, to tune in to watch Demetrius Johnson fighting in one championship, to tune in to watch Kayla Harrison fighting in PFL. For mixed martial arts to grow, flourish, and truly achieve what it can achieve, in my opinion, there needs to be as many promotions as possible. And I would love to see a world where outside of the UFC, the whole of mixed martial arts operates almost under the Ali Act, where all the best fighters fight each other. And then you could have potential unification fights between Cage Warrior champions and One Championship champions and Bellator champions and Rising champions. Kind of like you had with Darian Caldwell and Kyoji Horiguchi, which was absolutely awesome. For MMA to flourish and truly be able to achieve what it can and compete with UFC, we need to see some unified champions outside of the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome because, you know, there's fighters in other organizations that are the UFC caliber.
Oh yeah, Mamad Khalidov never fought in the UFC. Mamad Khalidov would have been a top contender if not a champion in the UFC in his heyday. He was brilliant. Or then you've got guys fighting in one championship that are absolutely exceptional. Adriano Moraes is going to give Demetrius Johnson a hell of a time. There's no doubt about it in my mind. He's brilliant. Onglan Sang, he wouldn't be a champion, but he'll be a top 5 contender in the UFC's light heavyweight division, in my opinion. You got Angela Lee, he'll be a top contender. In Bellator, you got Ryan Bader, who we already know is a top contender in the UFC. If you go through the divisions and you look at guys like Douglas Lima, I think he beats Kamaru Usman. I actually honestly believe that Douglas Lima beats Kamaru Usman.
Lima is a beast. Like he 100% could be a UFC champ. Like there's no doubt about that.
So absolutely. Yeah, where is Douglas Lima? Not good. He's devastating on the feet. He's got great Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's one of the most polished, experienced guys in the world. He's still young. He's phenomenal. If UFC was to put Kamaru Usman in a fight with Douglas Lima, and the fight that we saw with Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, that worked out. Obviously, they're both grapplers, so they cancelled each other out. But if he was to have a stand-up fight with Douglas Lima like that, he'll get slept. Yeah, he'll get slept. Yeah, there's no way. So there is true talent outside of the UFC, and there's nothing that gets on my nerves more than when I see someone who claims to be a MMA fan, but they know nothing of a product outside of UFC. And I love UFC, by the way. I don't want to sound like I'm slagging off UFC, but I love MMA more than I love UFC.
You know, I understand. I mean, as a whole, I do think that the UFC has maybe the greatest pool of like higher talent fighters, but it's not the end all. You know what I mean? Like, I like how I like how Scott Coker's open to cross fights.
Yeah, I love it. If they could match up Ryan Bader versus Onglan Sang, that to me is a super fight in the truest sense of super fight. Ryan Bader versus Onglan Sang, sign me up for that. 100%. I'll watch that every single time it's on. Yeah. Brilliant. That's a beautiful fight.
Bader's resurgence has been pretty incredible. But Rohan, are you out of time or?
5 more minutes.
Oh, yeah. I got.
Might as well call it even 10 o'clock at this point. Well, 10 o'clock for me. I don't know how you're doing over there.
Perfect. Right here, over in the States is 4:55 p.m.
So we'll call it 5 p.m. flat.
Perfect. Speaking of like talented fighters, controversial guy, MVP. What do you think about MVP? Because a lot of people have an opinion that he's fought nothing but tomato cans and that he's not that good. I think he's a victim of just not fighting like solid, you know, opponents in talent, but that doesn't mean he's not a great fighter. He has holes. He definitely has holes.
Yeah,
his stand-up is like crazy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So MVP is world class, no doubt about it in my mind. It's unfortunate that we haven't seen him matched up with the talent that will reflect that he is world class. So with MVP, he's not a guy that's ever turned down any fight. He's always said yes to every fight that's been offered to him. You know, unfortunately, Bellator, and this is the confusing thing about Bellator, they've done such polar opposite things with MVP that they've done with Aaron Pico, and it's just crazy to me. But he's never said no to a fight. He's taken every fight that's ever been offered to him. And if we're to look at his record, it's abysmal. There's no reason why after losing to Douglas Lima, he should have been fighting a dude that was 3-2. But if we're to look at some of his key wins, beating Paul Daly in a stand-up fight, that is incredible. Paul Daly is on a 16, 17. Yeah, of course. Paul Daly's on a 17-fight win streak in pure K1, and he's knocked out some really good guys. Yes, Paul Daly isn't the best in the world, but in a pure stand-up fight, he'll probably knock out Kamaru Usman too. Yeah. In an MMA fight, he obviously loses. But
yeah, because no, Daly's a beast.
Absolutely, he's an animal. Yeah, Daly's an animal.
Yeah, that dude's a savage, and I'm a little bit bummed, like, because way back when he punched Josh Koscheck, he got banned from the UFC over that, and it's like Dana has forgiven other people, and it's like, man, Paul Daly can't get back in. You know, like it's such a shame. He's got to be like what, in his mid-30s now.
Yeah, Paul Daly's not going to be in the UFC no more. He's 36 years old at this stage. I'm fairly certain he's put out there that he's got 2 or 3 years more left to fight in. It's not going to be in the UFC. But you know what? It's cool. Like I was saying, we get to watch him on Bellator. It's cool. Mm-hmm. Against great fighters like Douglas Lima, we've seen him fight MVP. We've seen him fight Lawrence Larkin. We've seen him fight Rory McDonald. We've seen him fight the best of the best in the entire world.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Rory McDonald, were you shocked that he left Bellator?
No, I was shocked. See, I didn't necessarily see him signing with PFL, but I did question a couple of things. So Rory McDonald's kind of underperformed over in the Bellator side of things. He went 3-3, I believe he went overall, or 3-2 with 1 draw. And there was no doubt in my mind he wanted to chase something new. I don't know why. I had this sticky feeling in my gut that he was going to sign with 1 championship, and I would have really liked to have seen that happen. But he chose to go the PFL route. Makes sense. Do I think he's going to just dominate the tournament the way everyone's saying? When there's guys like Ray Cooper the third over there, or Magomedov, there's no way. He's not just going to fly through those tournaments. I think he beats Magomedov, by the way. I think Ray Cooper's a winnable fight for him, but Rory McDonald's not just going to tear through PFL, which is another great promotion, by the way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's crazy when Rory first hit the scene, he was touted as possibly the next GSP. Like GSP himself was hyping him up like that.
And, yeah. Well, that shows what kind of a great guy GSP is. But GSP is the greatest fighter of all time, bar none, and there's a reason why. He's also got the temperament and great personality to back up what a great martial artist needs, much like yourself, bro.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I think I agree with you. GSP may be my GOAT. You know, totally the way he carries himself, never no scandals with him, never pop for anything. You know,
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Fighter. Yeah, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love the respectful, like true martial artist. But don't get me wrong, I do like the antics to a certain level. Like, you know, Conor's kind of entertaining.
Well, we all do,
except when he takes it too far. But he's entertaining.
Yeah. You and me both. We all love it, man. We all love it, but it doesn't mean we can't also love a polished professional, right?
Absolutely. We need both types of characters in the sport. But all right,
exactly.
Yeah, man. But all right, Rohan, that's time, man. So I want to thank you for hopping on the podcast. We definitely have to make this a recurring thing. It was great talking to you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on. Thank you to your viewers for tuning in to watch. I really enjoyed this, brother. And like you said, we'll make this a regular, man. Every Friday might work, or whenever you want to do it. Let's catch up, and I look forward to catching up again, brother.
Awesome. Friday may work. So all you guys on the live stream, check out Mind for Combat. You won't be disappointed. One of the best MMA channels out there. Rohan is amazing at breaking down fights. Knowledgeable, so well spoken. But anyway, guys, we're out of here. You guys have a good night. Later, Rohan.
Take care, brother. Good night.